Hi everyone, welcome back with episode 20 of the Bucs UK podcast. I'm Alex, your host, and I am joined by David.
Hi everybody, happy Christmas.
Ian's also with us.
Hello, and you'll be pleased to know I've made a sign again. 'Tis the season of goodwill, and we need to be inclusive for people whether they read backwards or forwards, so... Hopefully that satisfies all our watchers and listeners.
For our listeners, it says Merry Xmas, by the way. And also, hello to Pete.
Hello, happy holidays.
As usual, to begin with, please remember to give our video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave us a comment. You can also find us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Those links are in the description below. Please come and join us as well. Visit our website, www.bucsuk.org, and click on the Join tab for all the information you need. You could also send us a WhatsApp message or a video via there, and who knows, your message might appear on one of our podcasts in the future. Our WhatsApp number is 07311 212 713. And finally, as usual, a huge thank you to Bucs Report for promoting our podcast and their support with us as well. So let's have a look at what was an absolutely incredible game when the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers faced off in an NFC South match. So where do we even begin on that one? What a game we witnessed on Sunday. The Buccaneers went into the half 17-0 down and then came out and produced what was quite frankly a phenomenal performance to sail away with a 31-27 win. This now means that the Bucs only need one more win to seal a return to the playoffs after 13 years. Two more wins will give us the 5th seed and a tie against an NFC East team. So, Ian, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I tell you what,
Wow.
the Falcons don't like hold on to a lead, though, do they?
Not at all. I mean, there's lots of people have said, a win's a win, a win's a win. I mean, had we have lost, this would have been a nightmare discussion tonight, wouldn't it? So just happy for the victory, really. One of the earlier times I was on here, I managed to get a quote in from Oscar Wilde. So tonight I'm going to do a quote from Charles Dickens, which was, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness." So that was the tale of two cities. But I much prefer the football cliche, which is, it was a game of two halves, Brian. And without a doubt, it was that game of two halves, wasn't it? As you say, we got a winning season, one game away from the playoffs, 2 games away from being the 5th seed, and even potentially the division champions if we can win out and the Saints lose both of those. So yeah, obviously delighted. I'm not sure about these kind of criticisms that say, well, there were only a 4-9 team. There really isn't a bad team in the NFL, and the old phrase, every given Sunday. The Rams ain't a bad team, and they lose to the 0-13 Jets. So just delighted for the win.
Pete, Ian used the phrase, he took the words out of my mouth, in fact. He said about a game of two halves, which it quite literally was. And as Bucs fans, we also went through a roller coaster of emotions on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely we did that. I'm trying to start off by a shout out to all of the Brady 12 jersey wearers on Sunday that we had to get rid of and change jerseys to help the team win. The Bucs might not appreciate how much effort we go to bring them luck on a Sunday, even down to changing jerseys at half time. But yeah, what a game of two halves, really. What was it? Brady only threw 60 yards in the first half and come out and absolutely smashed it in the second half. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I think you're right there. His second half performance was absolutely outstanding when we look at his numbers in the first half, and we'll come on to that in more detail shortly. But David, it was one heck of a resilient performance from the Bucs to bounce back after what was a dreadful first half.
Oh, it was, but it's really what you expected of both teams. All season, the Bucs have been really slow off the mark and struggled in certainly the first quarter, if not onwards to half time. And equally, Atlanta have been known for throwing away games, so it was really the perfect storm. It's what everybody should have expected. We got through it. We've got the win. That's the most important thing. And, we've got our nose ahead for a playoff spot now. And that's all we really care about at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
12
Definitely.
years has been a long time to wait.
It has.
The
Too long.
Falcons, they're not a bad team. They've put a lot of points up. They've got some good players. We were lucky that our nemesis, Julio Jones, wasn't available. That certainly helped. But, a win's a win.
But Matt Ryan again turned up, well, certainly for the first half anyway, he turned up and played amazingly against us, as he always seems to do. But Pete, obviously we'll come on into more detail about the more negative side of the offence in that first half, but I want to start off with the positive side of things here, because second half, I thought they were absolutely amazing. You said about Brady's numbers, where first half it was 70 yards, second half he threw for 320. It was a complete turnaround when the team came out after the break.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we finally started to pick up Evans and use him the way he should be. 110 yards. It's only the third game he's had this season where he's hit those sort of numbers, and we've just not really used him the way he should be used the rest of the season. Playing him in the slot too much. Not really. This game he had something like 43 yards after the catch, which is unreal for him because he's normally catch. He's got someone right on him, man on man, and he never gets those yards after the catch. But for once, he actually was being played in those areas where he had time to space to run afterwards. I thought what was also really good was the use of AB, because it wasn't all about the deep ball. He was just off to the side, a little pass, and then he'd get that first down, which was massive for us because so many times we were just 3 and out. It was first half 3 and out.
It was definitely, as you say, Pete, it was definitely good to see more of those short throws that we were discussing on the podcast last week and playing to Brady's strengths and getting those few yards we need to get the first down on occasions. And that touchdown that AB did get was just a thing of, I've used this phrase a lot on the podcast, but a thing of beauty. Again, that throw, I don't think AB had to break stride to make that, and that was just wonderful to see. Now, David, Pete was discussing the wide receivers and how much of an impact they had on the game, which they did. I want to come to you about our running game, because you've been a real cheerleader, if you like, or wanted to get this running game going. Now, and then Fournette as well, he was mentioned last week about how he's going to probably want to make an impact, given the fact he did miss the game last week. 2 touchdowns for Fournette, only 18 attempts of rushing for 51 yards, though. Give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, we showed the value of a run game the week before. You're having Rojo out and Leonard Fournette being essentially dropped for the previous game. You thought he'd really want to come in and make an impact. Yeah, he got over in 2 short touchdown runs, but in the first half, again, it showed we only had 5 rushing plays. We didn't use the run game at all in the first half, and it was all in the second half, really. And although we scored a massive amount of points and yardage through passing, it was complemented by a running game much more second half. And, we've been screaming for this balanced play. And again, first half they abandoned it and we struggled. So when are they going to learn? Hopefully quickly, because I just don't understand it myself.
Yes, it was certainly, like you, it's very mind-boggling, isn't it? Coaches, not just us, but coaches are saying about this balanced offense, and that's how you win. Yet, we certainly with the Bucs, we are seeing this run game abandoned. Now, Ian, when you know, a word I've got on my notes about this offensive performance is interesting, to say the least. Again, a very slow start, which made things difficult. But we're so far into the season now. Surely this excuse, and I've used it many times, I hold my hands up. Surely the excuse of the team or the offense, sorry, is still gelling. That's got to be put to the side now. By now, it should be going firing on all cylinders from the first snap, shouldn't it?
Well, Alex, I'm not so sure. I think Brady's still learning, and he said right at the beginning of the season, judge me after 5 or 6 weeks, and I think maybe that was just a little premature. Aaron Rodgers is a fabulous quarterback. It took him well over a season to get used to the new offense under Matt LaFleur. So I think it's not unreasonable to think that Brady is still trying to figure things out. Obviously we've talked about the first half. I think it was 60 yards in total offense. We got 5 first downs in the whole of the first half. 5 plays, 4 of which were punts, and the other was effectively half time. But yeah, again, the second half, showed what we're capable of. In terms of receivers, he's got an embarrassment of riches, really, hasn't he? In terms of the receiving core, I think there were throws caught by 8 different receivers, and it would have been 10 were Vaughan not to have dropped one, and I think it was Tyler Johnson that probably should have had a flag. So obviously the passing game is there. Slightly different place in terms of the running game. I think it was kind of just enough in the second half to keep the kind of play action decent, and I think we all agree that it's fantastic to establish the run game just because it opens up so many options. But actually, if you look in the first half, the Falcons scored 17 points. They had no discernible run game at all. So yes, it would be great to have a further run game, but I don't think it's the only thing that's needed in order to get success.
So you're sort of focusing on that balanced game again, Ian, or not? Or you're not too overly fussed on that aspect of it?
No. I'd like to see the balance, and I think obviously, especially second half, Fournette did a great job. And the other thing that Fournette was very good at doing was the blocking as well. I mean, picking up some of the blitzes was great from Fournette. So no, I'd love to have that balanced offense, because it just opens up the play action, doesn't it? But I don't think I'm just thinking, I'm not sure we should go overboard and just say that without a running game we can't win, because I think the league's moved on a little bit from that. But that's just my opinion.
You mentioned
it was good to see. Oh
no, sorry, Pete. Go on. Sorry, apologies.
It was good to see we were throwing on first down for once instead of always a run up the gut. It was good to change it up and have some throws on, and we seem to get some positive results out of that. So that was good of changing it up. We don't always need to rely on, we've got to run it on first down to try and get there. We were throwing it and getting good results.
I had to go back on Game Pass just to re-watch that first snap on offense for us to make sure I hadn't made it up in my mind. A pass on first down. And Ian, I just want to go back to what you said about picking up the blitzes. For me, a big thing about our offense this game was how the O-line played in the first half compared to the second half. Brady was getting no protection in that first half, and we saw what was happening to him. Second half, goodness me, that O-line stepped up.
There were a couple of sacks, weren't there, in the first half, and Brady was sacked as well, I think, in the second half. I kind of just put the O-line generally down as a kind of an okay performance. Even in the second half, Brady didn't have a lot of time in the pocket. And I know everyone slags off Donovan Smith, but I do think we're not as strong without him. So yeah, I think the O-line was okay. I think the other good thing is I don't think there were any penalties on offense.
It was one. I'd like to say, I'm not sure who it was. I think it was on defense, but there was one penalty for 10 yards. That's all we had the whole game.
Yeah, actually, I think I might be wrong, but I think the only penalty was on special teams.
Oh, it was the
Was,
special teams. Oh, well, even better.
The push in the back.
yeah,
Oh
pushing
Yeah.
yes,
back
of
when,
course, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, when,
helmet to
We'll
helmet.
come on to that bit shortly.
yeah,
I've got
sorry,
some,
yeah.
I've got some rather strong notes written down here. But I mean, you said about Donovan Smith as well, Ian. David, Pete, I want to open this to you as well. I thought Josh Wells did a great job standing in for him, though.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
definitely.
He came in, and so particularly second half when he really got into the game, the blocking was much better. So that bodes well. I mean, Donovan Smith's back now. He's out of COVID isolation, so he'll be there. But you need numbers, so that's great that we've got Josh Wells and Donovan Smith that can come in and play. So yeah, that's great.
I think Bruce said at half time in his interview, he said that O-line communication was the issue as to why we're having such problems and Brady was getting sacked. But that seems to be an issue that we've had all year. I'm pretty sure on other podcasts we've talked about how there's been a lack of communication with the O-line, which isn't good. I think Wirfs he's basically already elite. He's shown this year that he is basically already an elite.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, absolutely. And another thing which I thought was really important in terms of how we played this game was Brady's patience. And I only really thought about that after I saw this stat, which we had 0 turnovers. And I couldn't help thinking that if it was Winston in the game still playing for us, and we were 17-0 down before the half, I just got a feeling he would have been trying to force some of those balls in, and we might have seen some turnovers, which could have made it even worse.
Oh, definitely. Superman Winston would have tried coming back out and making a play that didn't need to make, scrambling for yards he didn't need to do, and getting a sack or throwing an interception that was just stupid. I mean, even Brady showed it in this game when he took one of the sacks. He protected the ball, which is what he was brought in for. Otherwise, that could have easily been a fumble. But yeah, isn't this like his second game in a row with no turnovers, no interceptions?
I believe so. Yes, I think last time out there was also no interception. I think you're right on that, Pete. Yeah, so it really shows that we are protecting the ball better. You know, we were killing ourselves last year in particular by turning over the ball too much and giving away,
definitely,
touchdowns that way. So one thing Brady has definitely brought to this team is not turning the ball over. I mean, I know at the start of the season, didn't you have something like 3 or 4 turnovers in 2 games, or it might be more than that. So it was a bit of a rusty start there. But we can see he's certainly growing into this team, and he's certainly getting settled.
I think there's only been like 11 in the season there, 11 interceptions in the season. I mean, that's less than half of what Winston threw last year.
It was. Sorry, Ian, go on. Yeah.
I think it's a little unfair to kind of draw these comparisons between Brady, who's played over 20 years in the league and won 6 Super Bowls, and Winston, who was 4 or 5 years into his career. I mean, they're different styles of players. The point that Pete makes is the valid one for me, which is that Brady knows it's about protecting the football and don't try and make a high risk play if there's absolutely no need to. And I think the majority of the interceptions have just been errant throws rather than in any way kind of coughing the ball up, which was obviously something that Winston was apt to do. But no, I mean, he's comeback kid, isn't he, Brady, especially against the Falcons? So
he loves playing against them. Is he? I think he's unbeaten against the Falcons, I think, in his career.
Yeah,
he absolutely loves playing against them. And as I said earlier, those Falcons, they do not like holding on to a lead. So I'm already looking forward to our final game against them at the Ray J. I think that could be a really fun one again. But those Falcons are going to be out for revenge without a doubt there. So we've had to chat about the offense. Let's now move to the other side of the ball and talk about this defense. So David, against the pass, obviously we still got problems there. Matt Ryan, certainly in the first half, absolutely unbelievable. He finished the game with 356 yards for 3 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley managed 163 yards, but against the run, we're still as strong as ever. I think the note I've got here, we only allowed 37 yards against the rush.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and yeah, it's great to have a good run defense, but then again, most teams aren't running too much against us because they know they can beat us in the air. So everything's relative. First half, again, our defense, our secondary, at times just looked, our normal secondary lost at sea, too soft, too many gaps. And although they picked up and played a lot more man coverage. I mean, Ridley, every time you really wanted to find him, he was there to play to, wasn't he? We don't seem to learn, whoever it is that we're playing against, whoever's their star receiver on the field that week, teams can seem to find them quite easily. But, you know, fair dues to our defence. Second half, they again stepped it up, and they really shut the game out, didn't they, that fourth quarter? I mean, they were all over Matty Milt, I suppose we need to call him now.
Matty fell through the ice, as I like to call him at the minute. But
they stood up second half and kept the Bucs in it, and you know, got us to win as much as the offense, really.
Yeah, I mean,
Ian, you want to make a point?
Yeah, I mean, once again, obviously it was a game of two halves. The defense as well, really. It's funny that you were referring back to the comments made on last week's podcast, because, as we said, the Falcons had no discernible run game, but Ryan still had so much time in the pocket, you know, and I was thinking back to last week's podcast and the discussions about the Falcons. So on the second possession, Matt Ryan ran for 16 yards on one play. And I remember Tim saying last week, Matt Ryan is about as mobile as I am. And so I was getting these horrible feelings. And then obviously he got the 17 points in the first half. And I remember Dom saying that Ryan was looking like a rabbit in the headlights. And I'm thinking, no, this is all coming back to haunt us.
So I think we should bang Tom and Tim from future podcasts on that basis. Then.
But no, I mean the second half was the turnaround, wasn't it? And
absolutely.
You know, the thing for me was that the scores were tied at 24-24, and the Falcons were knocking on the door of getting a touchdown and second down, and there was a throw to Ridley that for all the world looked like a touchdown pass, and Winfield just kind of launched in there.
Amazing play. Yeah,
unreal.
Got his hand to the ball to protect it. Yeah. And on the very next play, which was the third down, was the first of White's 3 sacks. So obviously the Falcons then had to settle for a field goal. But for me, you know, those two plays would, you know, in the scale of things, with the scores tied, were just immense.
Yeah, Ian, I completely agree with you. I've got all written down here, and Tom Winfield Jr. and Devin White, who are the two players that I thought were the absolute standouts on Sunday. Don't get me wrong, the whole defense stepped up in the second half, but if I had to pick two players, I thought they were both phenomenal. 3 sacks for Devin White as well. He was really pumped up for it and playing out of his skin, like the Devin White we saw, a few weeks back. Because he certainly in the sacking game, if you like, he'd been fairly quiet over the past few weeks, but we saw that Devin White back again. Now, Pete, I said about sorry, Ian, I was
just going to jump in there. You'd almost have him down as a Pro Bowl candidate, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would, wouldn't you? Yes. Hey, I would definitely. Yeah.
But again, I think that's the same in the first half when we're playing more man, but we're using our linebackers to support the secondary.
Yeah.
Early on.
Yeah.
We're not using them for the speed blitzes as much as we did earlier in the season, and that's really why we weren't getting to the quarterback so much.
But we're even using our edge rushers to come back and cover. We're getting our edge rushers to drop back, and it just doesn't make any sense. No. I was listening to another podcast, and they were saying about that Shaq and JPP are lined up on the wrong sides. JPP likes to line up on the right, I think it is, and they leave it up to them to decide. And Shaq's too nice of a bloke to say no, I should be on that side, and they're swapping sides. And really, Shaq should be coming off the blind side, and he gets so much more closer to the quarterback through that side. But JPP likes to line up that side. I think that's part of our issue.
Well, there was a play you mentioned, Shaq Barrett there, Pete, and there was one play where he was. A split second from getting to Ryan.
Safety.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was from that left-hand side. He was blitzing from there. I mean, you know, we spoke about Devin White and Antoine Winfield Jr. Pete, you've mentioned Shaq Barrett and Levante David. One other player that I kept a close eye on, I don't know what you thought about him, but certainly start off with anyway, Pete, was Carlton Davis, because obviously he struggled a bit over the past few weeks. And to open the game up anyway, he had a really good play. I think it was on their first drive, where it was a short pass and he managed to keep it to about 3 or 4 yards. How do you think Carlton Davis got along overall, considering his previous few weeks?
I think he's doing all right. He just seems like hit and miss. 1 minute, I don't know whether it's just the coaching of the zone coverage, the soft zone that we're playing, or it makes people look a lot worse than they are. I think with how we're forcing them to play. I think some of it's coaching. One person I do think had a really good game was Jamal Dean. Yeah, he had some strong tackles. I thought he came alive at times. Sean Murphy-Bunting, I think, had a terrible game. He seemed to really drop away. Yeah,
very hit. The phrase you used was hit and miss about Carlton Davis, Pete. I think that phrase is also very a good phrase to use when we're talking about SMB, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right.
I mean, whilst we're on it, quick shout out for Ross Cockrell as well. Made a couple of key tackles as well. So I think all in all, the defense in the second half was just amazing. I mean, as Pete says, Sean Murphy-Bunting had a bit of an off day, but as bad as our offense was in the first half, obviously the Falcons scored a touchdown on the first possession of the second half, but after that, in 5 possessions, they got 33 total yards of offense. So yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of that was just down to the defense stepping up. I mean, the final thing I was going to say is I was listening to must have been a Bruce Arians press conference talking about halftime and the adjustments and the corrections that were made on defense. Why on earth can't we make those at the beginning of the game instead of waiting till halftime?
Doesn't make any sense. We can't make any in-game.
Sorry, Pete, go on.
Sorry, I was just saying we can't make any in-game adjustments. I don't understand it. You've got the defense isn't always off the field for that long, but they're all there with the iPads and somebody's watching. There's somebody upstairs watching. Why can't we make any of those adjustments in the game? Just to saying, right, that's not working, so let's line up this. Calvin Ridley is their number 1 receiver. He's been targeted the most all this season, so somebody needs to just be glued to him and leave it at that.
It's funny you should mention that, Pete, and Ian, linking to what you said as well, because going that press conference you're referring to, I believe Bruce Arians, I hope I read the tweet correctly, but I saw Bucs Report tweeted out that Arians has said defensively, we changed from a zone to a man. Now, first half, I definitely saw the zone coverage because Calvin Ridley was having a field day against us in that first half. So I don't know when the change to man was made, but it was the same when we played Kansas. In the first half against Kansas, we were zone coverage, and they were. I mean, Tyreek Hill in particular, that first quarter he had against us, where he got over 200 yards, was all on the man coverage. All on the zone coverage. It clearly shows that our defense is amazing when it comes to man coverage, and it's just not disciplined to play zone.
Yeah, and it's just another theme that we seem to say every week. Man v zone. Every week we seem to get burned on zone. As soon as we go to man, we've got great coverage. And we seem to have the better players to play man. They're quick. They can follow the runners. Whereas if you put them in a zone, they struggle on communication.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as Matty has got here, I don't understand it. Here I have 2 seconds longer in the pocket moving around, and we seem to be like, oh, Calvin, you just wander over there and I'm just going to stand here in my zone because that's what I've been told. And then they throw it to you, you just think, why didn't you follow him? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then they only react once he's got the ball.
Yeah. Missed tackles was another one that we seem to have in the first half. Some terrible missed tackles.
Yeah, the magic wand that 2 of us had on the podcast last week about the missed tackles clearly wasn't taking any notice of, but never mind. We'll see if magic wands make any difference for next week when we get onto that. But we'll leave the defense for now, guys, and let's have a quick chat about special teams. Now, I don't think I've ever heard a bigger sigh of relief when the message came out from the Bucs that Suckup, Pinion, and Trina were all activated from that reserve COVID list. Now, it says something as Bucks fans when we're now relieved and happy that our special teams is in the game. Ian, it was great to see him on the field at least, wasn't it? Suck up in particular.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fantastic. I mean, my message, each time I'm on, I think when it comes to special teams, is kind of get off their backs. They're doing a really good job. I watch a fair bit of NFL in terms of other games, and I don't think there are many other special teams that are standout or awesome. I mean, for me, our special teams, they're achieving the basics, and that's more than satisfactory. Suck up is perfect again. Pinion's kicks are great. We're preventing any meaningful returns, and on our returns we didn't make any mistakes. And in fact, there would have been a 21-yard punt return from him were it not called back for a holding from Barner, were it not be called back from holding penalty. So I say get off their backs and give them an A or at least a B plus.
We'll have to message Kieran and find out what his grade would be on this occasion and try and get that in there. Pete, another guy I want to speak about is Ken John Barner, who was doing the punt returns for us against the Falcons. Now, I felt he had a pretty good game, actually. We seemed to have a bit of a punt return game going there. I don't think he's ever heard of a fair catch, which is terrifying.
No.
When watching that. And that hit he took, which I'll be frank, I wasn't too happy about. I don't know what your view is on, guys, but I'd love to hear it as well. But yes, this he made some good gains, but not hearing of a fair catch can be very worrying sometimes.
Yeah, the bloke has got balls of steel. The way that he just stares them down, the ball's in the air, and he's like, "I'm not calling it. I'll just catch this and take that hit." And it was, I don't know how he stands there ready for that. But yeah, no, I thought that was it was quite a turnaround with that pushing the back and then the helmet to helmet, because obviously that wasn't going anywhere. And then we had the re-kick. What I didn't understand what the massive hold up on that was. What was anyone know what the massive hold up on they had to go and review it and watch it back and why they needed to do all of that?
No, not 100% sure.
Because I think partly it was, I imagine partly it was the coaches understanding what the penalties was and what their options were, because in the end it ended up being a repunt, didn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
I think for us,
that's what we wanted.
Yeah,
we ended up running it back quite well.
Yeah, as Ian said, I think the officials were just coming together and making sure they made their call right, and like I say, the coaches understood what was going on as well. Now, I thought
the Falcons challenge that.
What
did the Falcons challenge that, or did they challenge something else?
They challenged something else. Yeah, they challenged something else. That was, oh goodness me, it was a Scotty Miller catch, which they said hit the ground, and it clearly hadn't, and it was I think it was
when he got his knee down.
That was right. Yeah, but they said the ball.
I remember him wasting a challenge. I didn't know what it was for.
Yes, it was on that one. Now let's just, if we can just quickly stay on this this hit that Barner had to take, because I thought it was disgusting. I'm going to be honest with you, guys. I know there was a push in the back, but I've seen the replays. For me, it looks like, I'm not sure who it was, whoever from our special teams, whoever was pushing the Atlanta player, to me it looks like he's pushing to the side. Yes, he's losing his balance. He knows he's going down. Surely, just in terms of game etiquette, as a fellow professional player, if you know you're going down, there's potentially going to be helmet contact. You either get yourself to the floor, or you do everything to avoid that contact. And then to see him celebrate the way he did afterwards, I wasn't impressed with that at all.
I've got a little bit of sympathy because of, well, two things really. One, the push in the back, but the second thing, it looks so different when you watch it in slow motion. You know, when you actually see how these plays develop in real time, you know, making those sorts of adjustments are kind of really quite difficult. And I think analysing things in slow motion can be a little bit misleading. So I was a little bit more forgiving than you were, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, you are at full sprint, and your whole point is that you are taking that player down as hard as you can, because you want to either get a fumble or at least stop him from moving anywhere. But yeah, I didn't think it was. it's the game, isn't it? I mean, you would do it the other way around if you could. Maybe not celebration, but
it's
you would do it the
different.
other way around if you could.
It's different. It's
He's
different
not
way out
going to
there.
get any. He's not going to get any pats on the back from his coaches if he doesn't make the tackle at all, is he?
Yeah. And they were going for he would have hoped for the penalty. They're pushing the back. As soon as you feel that, a bit like football, you're going to do the whole dive where you think that the helmet to helmet is not going to count. Instead, they end up cancelling each other out.
So what did you think of the measure at the end of the game?
Oh yes, we need to discuss that. Yes, two other points to quickly discuss actually, Dave. Thank you. I'm glad you reminded me about those. So let's just quickly go back to this wasted challenge, which was when it was a 4th down, I believe, and Miller's knee was down before the ball came out. I mean, someone in the Falcons team is going to be getting a right shouting at for telling Raheem Morris to challenge that, aren't they? It wasn't even close.
Wasting a timeout and everything. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. I don't think it was ever needed to have been challenged. If anything, they could have challenged. We got a massive. Is it 28 yards? We got with a face mask on Evans. That I thought was quite good. Yeah, they probably could have challenged that and had a better go at maybe turning that round with the pushing and shoving than compared to that Miller with the knee down.
And David, you mentioned it and reminded me, so I will come to you first. What about this interesting measurement or interesting ball placement that the officials gave us at the very end to seal that first down and to give us the win?
Well, I think the officials applied the Brady rule there, didn't they?
Feels nice, doesn't it?
I mean, it may be different on the field, but from everybody watching on TV, it didn't look like he'd made it. It looked short to me.
If you look at the replay, it's a good measure. If you look at the replays, it is nowhere near. It's really not. I think was it Fournette who ran the ball for that play, and you can clearly see where the marker is. There's a gap, then his elbow, and then the ball's in there. It's not even close.
It didn't look close.
Yeah. A couple of thoughts. I mean, the line they draw on the TV is only an estimate, and it's been shown to be wrong in the past. But having said that, it's when they actually got the chains out and they were still anyway. Oh, you might as well have it.
And I'm sure the post was at an angle as well.
They did seem to move the post up and then sort of just stop before it got straight, didn't they? It was almost like it was slow motion. I thought we were going to see I've got his surname. The referee Gene Sterit. I'm not sure what his surname is, but there was a close call. I can't remember who was in the game going back a few years ago. And didn't he get a referee card out and place it in between the ball and the chains or something? I thought we were going to see something like that again, but not quite that much action.
So in the
could have put a fist between and made the still. We wouldn't have made it.
Sorry, Ian, go on.
Yeah, in the press conference, Bruce Arians was asked what he would do had they not have got the first down. Would they have kicked the field goal, or would they have gone for it on 4th down? And probably unsurprisingly, he said they would have gone for it on 4th down. It's a bit of interest. I'm glad we didn't have to live through. I was more than happy that we just took the knee and ran the clock down.
Definitely, and we managed to walk out of Atlanta with the win, which made us Bucs fans even happier.
I wanted us to go for it. I would have thought we should have gone for the touchdown. I know it's unsportsmanlike, but I thought we should definitely that close. When you're that close, why not run it in?
But what was? Oh no, it was 31-27 at that point, isn't it? So so either way,
a 4-point lead.
Yeah, it was a 4-point lead. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if they'd gone for on 4th down and not got it, they would have still had something like 15 or 16 seconds to make up 90 odd yards. So.
And no timeout
which
as well.
Which they probably would have done, but
probably no. I think
yeah. We'd have slipped back into that Hail Mary for 90 yards.
So you've heard our views on the Falcons games. Now it's time to hear what some of our members thought. We'll start off with Andy. A superb second half. Needed to see that from everyone after the awful first half. When will we get 4 quarters of good football? Andy, we'd love to know as well. I think that's all we want to see at the moment, isn't it? Just 4 quarters of great football rather than just 2. Philip said, look at it this way. If it was just a run-of-the-mill victory, we wouldn't have felt all so pumped afterwards. The Bucs will see you a whole seat, but you'll only need the edge of it. I think he's got a good point there. Like I say, why have the whole seat when you just sit on the edge and stay so tense during the whole game? Lee Merrison, absolute mental game. A great second half for us, and on to Lions on Boxing Day. Absolutely, we're ready and raring to go for that one. If it happens, yeah, fingers crossed it will. It should do, but fingers crossed it will go ahead without any issues. And Matty, between the Scottish Cup final and that game, I've aged about 10 years. I didn't watch the Scottish Cup final, but I'm assuming it was another tight game. At least I got the right results in the end. Well, I'm glad someone got the right result in both footballs that we like over here, but I won't go on about that.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Yeah. Pete's a Man United fan, by the way. Everyone, I'm a Leeds fan. Go figure. Devin White was amazing to close that out. Maybe we'll peak at the right time. We've also got a special Christmas message, which has come from the Bucs UK Cayman Island branch. So hello to you all. Hope you're listening and enjoying the show. So they say, Merry Christmas from the Bucs UK Cayman Island branch. Wishing you all the best for Christmas and a happy playoff run in the new year. And a very Merry Christmas to you guys from us as well. And we hope you're all keeping safe and well over there too. So, guys, in some other news before we go on to the Detroit game, on Monday night, midnight here in the UK, the Pro Bowl rosters were released. And the first thing I saw was Bucs Twitter, or Bucs Twitter world, shall I say, going absolutely berserk. And it wasn't until I saw the rosters that I saw exactly why. Only one Buc player made the Pro Bowl rosters. So first things first, before we get into that, a huge congratulations, Jason Pierre-Paul, for making the roster again. Fantastic. So well done from all of us here at Bucs UK for that. But how on earth have we not seen more Bucs players in there? Don't get me wrong, JPP fully deserves to be in that, but so do a lot more of our players as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Devin White's putting up basically historic numbers, and yet didn't even get a look in. Alex Capper was he was running first on the polls for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then gets to now, don't worry about it, we're not going to get looking either. I don't understand what's going on.
No, I mean, no disrespect to sorry, David, just quickly. I mean, no disrespect to Fred Warner of the 49ers, who did get into the Pro Bowl, but Devin White's numbers were significantly better than his. I really can't understand why he's got in ahead of Devin White, I'll be honest. David, sorry, you wanted to make a point as well.
Yeah, it always seems to be unfashionable to put Bucs players in. Every year we have the same debate. You know, Levante David for the last 3 or 4 years should have been there. You know, and it's a real battle to get him in. He only sort of gets involved if he becomes a replacement at a later date. You know, you've got Devin White, who should really be in the stellar season that he's had. You know, even Winfield Jr. We've got players all around the Bucs roster at the minute where you feel really, as a sort of a top 10 team at the minute in the league, we should be getting more recognition. But it's been like that for a long time. We just don't seem to, you know, be that popular when it comes to getting Pro Bowl votes. I mean, with having the Pro Bowl last year in Orlando, you would have expected to get Bucs players in there just to even build an attendance and support. And we were snubbed there.
We had the alternatives, didn't we? Godwin and Evans are both alternative wide receivers, but they both pulled their hamstrings anyway.
I was going to try and be slightly the kind of voice of reason. I think.
No, don't bother.
No, I'll give it. Yeah. I mean, if we look at it in terms of the Pro Bowl roster for the NFC, there's 18 players on defense, and obviously there's 16 teams. So you know, you're not on average going to get more than 1 or 2 spots really. And if you look at inside linebacker, there's only 2 spots, and one, as Alex said, was Fred Warner of the 49ers. The other was Bobby Wagner of the Seahawks. You know, surely Devin White's in that mix, but you know, they're all decent players. And I suppose the other thing I don't fully understand is the dynamics of the voting. I think a third of it is coaches, a third of it is players, and the other third is fans. And I imagine, you know, in the nicest possible way, better supported teams are going to mean the fan votes favour,
It's just a
some of
popularity
the bigger
contest,
teams.
isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah,
what it
third
comes
of it.
about.
But I don't think, given that a third of it is coaches and a third of it is players, I don't think you can say there's any kind of anti-Bucs sentiment. I mean, I bet you if you went on in the NFC, the other 15 teams' websites, you'd have people complaining about who should be in the Pro Bowl and isn't. So I don't disagree, and I think Devin White certainly deserved a spot, but I think bit of a reality check.
I think Worth definitely deserved a spot with how he's playing for a rookie.
Absolutely, for a rookie, he's been outstanding. Yeah.
To pick it up that quickly and to fit into such a I was trying to think of a non-horrible word there, but such a mismatch of offensive line that we've had where they can be so hit and miss. He's always so strong on his side.
I agree with you that Worth's had a stellar season. But again, playing devil's advocate slightly, it's not about whether you're a rookie or not. It's whether you're best at your position. And I think as a rookie, he's been brilliant. But if you look at the Pro Bowl, it's the people who are best in the league at their position. So
I think he could go up against them at the minute with how he's playing, how he's handled himself, and really protected that side. I think he could, on the numbers. I'm not sure who would be being classed better than him for what you think of the players he's gone up against. We've had some really tough players, Aaron Donald and people like that this year, Khalil Mack. I think on his side, I know everyone, they do that big, where Khalil Mack after the play had finished, Khalil Mack threw him on the ground and everyone makes out like that was some superhero movement. But the play had finished and he then threw him on the ground afterwards. It's like sucker punching someone in the back of the head. It doesn't really make you a superstar, does it?
No, I think you all make good points there, guys. And I think for me, the one that I just find extremely baffling, I know you guys mentioned it, I mentioned it at the start, is of all the Buccaneer players, I thought Devin White was a cert of all of them because he has been phenomenal this season. He was voted in as captain. He's really led the defense well. His numbers are amazing. And out of all the ones I saw, he was just the biggest surprise for me personally there, not to see him on the Pro Bowl. And yes, people sort of they say the Pro Bowl is not important and they're not too fussed about it. But myself and David were chatting earlier, and it's more about Bucs recognition or getting the players of the Bucs the recognition they deserve. And it just feels like the Bucs players get pushed to one side. And I'm sure you'll agree as Bucs fans, it's just not a nice thing to see.
We've got the All Pro to come yet, don't we? So maybe they've kept him out of the Pro Bowl and he'll be on that roster. Because his numbers compared to who's it? Fred Warner over.
Fred Warner of the 49ers. Yeah,
he's got no sacks and anything like that. His numbers are pathetic compared to what Devin White's putting up. Even with the games where he's gone missing, the numbers that he's done in the other games make up for it. Really.
I mean, anyway, forget the Pro Bowl. We're going to be at the Super Bowl, so it won't matter anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll just playing it.
Time to look ahead to Saturday now, and we've got a Boxing Day treat here in the UK as the Bucs prepare for their final road game of the season as they travel to the Motor City, Detroit, to face the Lions. So Matt Patricia was sacked as the Detroit Lions head coach at the end of November. However, this doesn't seem to have really changed the fortune of the Lions. They've lost their previous two, where the Buccaneers have won their previous two. So David, going on from that, confidence has got to be high for the Bucs right now, coming into the game against the Lions. What do the Bucs need to do to make sure they come away with the win?
Well, we're going into the game with a winning season to start with. So that's got to be positive and we've got to feel good. And we know it's all to play for to secure our playoff position. So, everything to play for us, not a great deal to play for Detroit. So we've got to go in there with a lot of confidence and hopefully we're up for it more than them. But I wouldn't necessarily discount Detroit too much as it's going to be, an easy victory. They've got very good passing game, and we've talked in the first half about our struggles at times against the pass. They don't run the ball a great deal, so that we know that we're going to have to turn up and play as a defence on the passing game. So that's going to be really interesting to watch and make sure they don't get away from us early. I think they're ranked 6th in pass at the moment in the league, and although they're 5 and 9, you look at the teams in their division, it's not an easy division. They've got the Packers, the Bears and the Vikings. So, let's not take this for granted, turn up and think we're just going to win on Sunday. We've got to get out there, we've got to be focused, and we've got to do the job.
What would you say, if in terms of looking at both the rosters, David, who would you say is the player to watch either from the Bucs or the Lions? Who do you think we really need to keep a close eye on?
Again, I think it's up to our defence to get out there and to get at Matt Stafford early. That's it. We've got to close down their pass game early, and the way to do that is pressure. So we're looking for the likes of Shaq Barrett to get loose this week. A little bit of extra rushing from some of our linebackers. We've held off a little bit recently. I think go for some really quick blitzes early on and get him on the back foot.
Would you say that's your magic wand there, David, to just make sure we get to Stafford nice and quickly and just ensure we keep up that pass rush?
Yeah, absolutely. But my double-ended wand, I'm not going to let go of. Just keep running the ball as well. Every week you're going to have me at a minute. We've got to maintain that balanced offence.
Dom will be thanking you for a double-ended wand there, David. You'll be his favourite person now after that one. Ian, how do you rate the Bucs' chances on Saturday, and what do you think they need to do to avoid slipping up?
I think in many ways, echoing what David was saying, I think defence is absolutely key to the game on Saturday. I think that the Lions' defence isn't a standout defence, so I think the Bucs should score points. But I think the Lions are eminently capable of scoring points, and that's why I think for me the defence is key. I mean, Stafford is a veteran quarterback, very experienced. They've got some decent receivers in Marvin Jones and old hands in Sanu and Amendola. Pretty decent tight end in TJ Hawkinson. And I wouldn't completely rule out the run game. Obviously, they've got Adrian Peterson, but also DeAndre Swift is back now from injury as well. So yeah, I think that they're certainly capable of scoring, and for me, therefore, defense is key. Last week on the podcast, Gary made the highly insightful comment that he thought the better team would win. And I'm going to go one stage further, and I think the team that scores the most points is going to win this one.
So what's
it's a good shout.
It absolutely is a good shout. So just leading on to that then, from that, Ian, which players do you think are really important to watch from either side here?
On their side of things, it might be someone like TJ Hawkinson, on the basis that tight ends tend to have pretty good games against us, those kind of shorter passes over the middle, and he's a very accomplished tight end. I think on our side of things, I think it's Mike Evans. He showed what he could achieve in the second half against the Falcons. So, I think Brady's just got to force feed the ball continually to Evans. So those for me are keys to the game. And
also, Ian, in terms of your magic wand for the game as well, what would you like to see the Bucs work on in preparation for Detroit?
Well, I mean, seeing it's Christmas, I've got more than one thing to use my wand on this time. Firstly, continuing with no penalties. I think that's a huge difference to any game. Secondly, I would love to score on the first possession and actually get some points on the board earlier. And the final thing I was just going to say is going back to my kind of quote from Charles Dickens. Another bit of that little quote is, "It was the epoch of belief." And what I would say to everyone at this stage of the season, believe, because that's what a lot of it is all about.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I echo that, Ian. Believe we'll get there. Keep with the Bucks. Believe, and we will do it. So, Pete, this is it. The Bucks are on the verge of the playoffs, looking at a return to the postseason for the first time since 2007. Will that playoff place be sealed on Saturday? Is it going to happen? How are the Bucks going to do it?
Yeah, it's going to happen. Of course it is. With everything that's going to go away, it's Christmas. Everything's going away. The Saints threw it away against the Chiefs, so it's all going to go away. I don't know how it's going to happen, though. I suppose what I enjoyed about in the Falcons game was there was that moment with Evans and Brady where Brady was scrambling a bit and he sort of like motioned to Evans to move forward. It was good to see that connection happening, even if it's during the play, even if you're shouting out loud to say, Evans, come this way a bit. It happened. Evans made the catch, and it was what we needed, because before Evans was giving up on plays or he just sort of didn't seem interested. If Brady wasn't looking his way, he sort of would run half-hearted. Whereas it was good in that bit for Brady to even still be directing the play and make a big play. It was a massive chunk play for us, so that was good to see. But yeah, I hope more stuff like that, more connection between Brady and Evans, and even with Godwin. Just for Brady to still be fine-tuning those connections. If I move in, you come to me. That's stuff that we should have had already down by now. But even if it's still happening this late in the game, I don't mind.
So for you, Pete, in your opinion, which players do we need to watch against Detroit?
See, I'm quite worried about Adrian Peterson, because he's such an old hand at this, and he's so determined and strong on the run that you can never really count him out.
And what about your magic wand as well, Pete? What do you want to see the Bucks work on in preparation for this game?
It's still really just this getting out the blocks early. This slow start. We can't have it on both sides, on offense and defense. We can't have it happening like this anymore, because we're giving up so much of the game. Even with the comeback kid in Brady, it's too much work, too much pressure. You think how many games we've lost by 3 points just because we've let it get away from ourselves just too early, that we have a mountain to climb. So that's mainly what I'd like to do the wand on. Other than that, it'd be last year Sean Murphy-Bunting got an interception against Detroit, so I'm hoping he can turn it around from the Falcons game and have a better game against Detroit again, because it's home city. You always sort of come out a bit more when you're playing in your home city. His family will be there, so hopefully he'll put on a good show.
Yeah, I have to admit, Pete, I'm going to follow you on this one in terms of a quick start out the blocks, because I also agree with what Ian said about in terms of the Lions put up points, and it's going to be all about who scores the most points here. So I think offensively we really need to hit this game running and really, really get going quickly, because I think we're in for a really exciting game on Saturday, and it's going to be a real shootout. So it should be, for the neutral anyway, really exciting. For team fans of both the Bucs and the Lions, this could be quite a nervy one. Well, particularly Bucs fans, because we know if we get a win, we know what the result is. So it's going to be a very nervy game for all Buccaneer fans this Saturday. Right, just to close this segment out then, gentlemen, let's have your score predictions, please. Ian, how do you see this going?
Oh, I was going to say 3-0 Bucs, but actually I reviewed that now on the basis that it's going to be higher scoring than that. So 34-24 to the Bucs.
A real shootout there. Pete, what about you?
I've gone 34-17.
David?
Yeah, Ian stole my numbers, so I'm going to make it just a little bit higher. I definitely think there's a bit of a shootout there, so 37-27.
Like you guys, I share the same view there. I've gone 38-24 to the Bucs. I think we're going to see some big points on the board, and it could be a very interesting game. That's all we have for you today. As always, remember, we aren't just on YouTube. You can download the podcast from Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, and Overcast. So Ian, Pete and David, thank you ever so much for joining me for this episode. And finally, thank you to you all for tuning in. We shall see you for what will be our final episode of 2020 next time, in which we shall be reviewing the game against Detroit and looking ahead to the final game of the regular season for the Bucs, which is again against the Atlanta Falcons. So once again, David, Ian, Pete, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, and happy Christmas to everyone.
And as Ian said, on behalf of all of us, have a safe, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you again very soon. Take care.